dynamics of villages have changed, you know.
Such a shame. Terry,
Yes.
what's your story?
What's my story? Born and bred, Koorawatha boy.
Yep.
Left for 20 years, travelled the world, joined the Air Force.
Did you?
Yeah, ex-military boy.
Wow.
Came back here with my English wife I met in Canada in 2001. I'm still here. She ain't.
So no, these things happen.
And yeah, the town has changed. Of course it has.
Tell us about growing up here. Tell us about, you grew up here. What was it like growing up here?
It was a big country. Everyone knew everyone, I suppose. I had lots of cousins in the town. I've got two. Heidi's father-in-law is uncle and dad. They're the last two in the village. But there was they had a family of 8. So when I went to the little village here and they had the little school, they had 57 kids. Well, 14 of them were my cousins.
Really?
At the time. Now they got down eventually to none. And essentially, I think they got down to 4 kids. And
in the primary school in Koorawatha?
In the primary, and with more staff than you could take a stick at. And then all of a sudden, well, because there's no rental properties in the town anymore. Like, rental here is nearly as dear as Kara. So you're paying $300-400 a week to rent somewhere here. So single mums, all of a sudden the house sells because real estate's suddenly become valuable around here. Yeah, they've got nowhere to go.
Right. So what's happened to the town? I mean, you grew up.
Well,
what was here when you were growing up?
Well, you had the pub, fish and chip shop, post office, 2 general stores, and one of them was a servo, and the cafe across the road there.
Yep.
As well. So,
and that was all going well.
Pre my time, the town had a battery factory, a sawmill, lots of industry, you know. But this was a big village at the time. It was a big village, and it was a railway village. Because it's a central point for the railway lines, every line had a crew of 8 blokes. So you got 3 lines, then you had a bridge crew of another 8 blokes. So you start summing that up, where all of a sudden you've got 30 railway workers in the town.
All based here?
Based here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, okay, we'll tell the story of the pub. Friday night you come in, 4 o'clock the railway workers get here, flat out. They're on it. Hour later, the shearers and the rouseabouts get here. Hour later, the farmhands get here. As a young man in the pub, you never got a seat. You weren't entitled to a seat. There were stools along the walls from the old swill days.
Yeah.
And you gave your seat away. Every elder that come in, they got your seat.
Really?
That's just the way.
How long ago was that, and how long did that last for?
Well, I left the village in 85. That's when I joined up. It was still that way then. The railway died not long after. And we had a beautiful old railway building over there. Gorgeous, timber, heritage building. And then one day, because the railway department don't like insurance, they've come in with the bulldozers, they've pushed it on a big pile and they burned it, including the sign. Everyone's come home from work that afternoon and their railway station's a burnt pile of shit. Stuff. And
Jesus.
And
how did people feel about that? They
lucky the boys that had burnt it weren't in the village anymore.
Yeah.
At the time. And I was a kid, so we are going back to the 80s, I suppose, when that happened. And it was already dying then. And the silo, it slowly died. You know, they weren't maintained. Grain Corp moved to other places. We have a very big silo for our village because Sir Jack Cass, where I used to live, he was the chairman of the Australian Wheat Board. So we suddenly got this big flash silo built in Koorawatha.
Well, maybe someone needs to do something to bring more people to the town. Can't we get someone to come in and do a giant bit of artwork on the giant silo?
Well, it should be. It should be a museum. They should use that building for something. You know, look, a lot of villages do that stuff and chase different things. You know, but the dynamics of the people change. You know, all of a sudden it's you can sell a place in Sydney and you can come here with your $800,000. You can buy yourself a $300,000 house and have a pocket full of cash. You know, and it's lovely. You have all these elders here, but things like the organisations and stuff, you know, they struggle. They need the young workers.
Yep.
And the young people just always seem to be too busy, you know. They'll curse me for saying this about them, but Yeah,
C'est la vie.
volunteering's dying.
Yep.
I've recently pulled out of everything after however many years.
Yep.
President, vice president of every second thing, but it's just hard to get volunteers to keep these little villages going. It really is.
What's it like? What was it like when the pub closed here for you?
Well, I'm a bachelor. It's where I go to have a yarn to the boys. Yeah, no, it's hard. When a pub shuts in a village, it's used to having a pub. Yeah, it's a kicking. You don't really know what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
And even as time goes on, like you have days off. Well, there was once upon a time the pub never shut, but now it's just not economically viable. They are struggling to keep. Oh, and I had to go publicing for a while too.
Yep. Whereabouts?
Royal, the big old one on the bend there, the 2-story joint, flash hole joint.
They're redoing it.
Yeah,
It's about to open up.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
maybe. Yeah, well, it went to weekends after I left there.
Okay.
So yeah, I give that a punt for a while.
How'd you go at managing a pub? How tough is it? You must know.
I left with a jar of coins and an ex-wife.
Yeah. So it was tough.
Put that on your story. Yeah. Yeah, it was tough. No, it was much more fun once she left, but it wasn't very profitable. Let's say. Another story in life.
Yeah. The importance of keeping this place alive, though. It's massive.
In the old days, there was a bit of a triangle. You had Koorawatha, Greenthorpe, and Bendick Pub.
Yep.
Well, Bendick Pub's now a house.
Yep.
Koorawatha's still going. You don't know what Greenthorpe's doing. The publican over there just passed away the other week, big old fella. It's shut more than it's open. And it used to be the circuit. Well, you can't do a circuit now because it's illegal.
Yes, correct.
So basically, yeah.
Unless you've got a designated driver.
But country pubs are, they say that 70% of country pubs are actively on the market.
Yep.
That's the thing. Like my favourite pub is Tilpa out west on the Darling. That's my favourite pub.
UHF, what is it?
I don't know. I can't remember either.
UHF 34?
It could be, actually. I actually went out there to work. We went out there on a fishing trip. And it's been 10 years since I've been there the first time.
Yep.
And I walked in the pub. And we were the first ones there. And it's a pub with atmosphere.
Yeah.
So much in many places. Yeah. Especially behind the bar, because I ended up working there.
You did.
And we've got there and I've got splittered. Like lying on in the bar dribbling. And the bloke out there, I used to work in shearing sheds. He's from Koorawatha. He was managing it. He said, and I offered my services because I know how hard it is to get away from the pub. If you need a worker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So you just happened to be there and said, listen, I'll roll my sleeves up and help you out.
And the wife come out and found me drinking. Anyway, I think in the next 2 years, I probably went there 6 or 7 times to help out.
Really?
Yeah. Loved
Okay.
It. Loved it.
They just said, come on in.
Keep coming, yeah.
How good is that?
And I do love the place. I do.
All right. What's the best thing about country pubs in Australia? What's the best thing about pubs in Aussie?
Well, it's a sin to drive past one.
I agree.
Yeah.
Why are they so important?
I don't know if they're a last bastion or they're, for me, okay? I sit home, I look after Dad, we muck around and do the shit, or I live up in the hills. I can be reclusive.
Yep.
It's where I come to have a yarn to people. And that's been discussed, especially during the drought and things like that, that these blokes need to come and have somewhere they can go for a yarn,
Yep.
Mental health was all a garbage thing once, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Correct.
It's a very serious thing, and I've battled my demons. But yeah, it's at some place to come and have a yarn. And where else am I going to go and see Amy in a tutu, roller skating behind the bar?
You don't get that at home.
She reckons I'm just permanent legs, which I am. But you can put that on television. Record that one. It's a release, I suppose. Where else do you go in the village? There's nothing else here. And we've got a progress association. We've got a show society. We have a good little show, but it's dying.
Yep.
Extinction is the thing I used to lecture at every meeting about because it's numbers. We're not getting the volunteers anymore.
Yeah.
You get the volunteers on the day, sort of, but yeah, the show for me has been a family curse.
Right.
Forever.
How important is the show to the community, though? Like, You need a strong one, or it just gets people together?
We've suddenly got a new committee this year, and all of a sudden everything's changed a bit. And we give up the barbecue. Now they want us to do the barbecue, and we're not going to do it because they're dumbing us down, you know. And it's a shame. It's a shame that the new people that come into the town, and they won't like this either, but they're quite a simplistic attitude to, well, what have you done about this? Like the weir up there. Okay, I'll tell you a story, the weir. This was a train town. Back to a train town.
Yep.
We had 2 water towers. They built a weir up in the hill. I know it's probably 10 k's away, maybe more, on the creek. They built a weir and they piped the water all the way to the village. The pipe was actually made out of timber. I've got some of the sections of timber. There's not many know what they are. Wrapped in wire, covered in tape and tar. And that was the So it was always a big railway town, you know, and they had that. And everyone goes, well, what are we going to do about access to the weir? Well, the railway department own it, National Parks and Wildlife want to own it, and council won't take responsibility for it. What do you do? People say, what are you going to do about the road to the weir? Well, I can always get there. I'm on a motorbike. If you just go, I got married up there, as it turns out. You're getting all my stories now. With my 2 grandmothers that were still alive at the time.
No way.
My grandmother, my dad is actually probably the wisdom of Koorawatha.
Yep.
He would be probably the coherent elder. His brother is 11 months older. Ronnie, who's Heidi's father-in-law and Jamie's dad.
Yep.
The 87-year-old cuts wood for the 88-year-old.
No way.
I shit you not. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we get involved in it. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that story. Ronnie was a railway worker. Dad was a shearer and farmhand. You know. But my grandmother, she lived to 101. She was proper wisdom of the village. Yep. She remembers when she came to the village as a 4-year-old, they lived in the first pub in the village down there, the Bang Bang Inn.
Yep.
That's the one that Ben Hall come to
try and steal the horses.
Steal a racehorse. I've got his picture in there actually. It's in just outside the blokes' toilets.
Yeah, it's a lovely.
An old mate painted that for me. That was actually, I had that from the pub at Canowra because it had a Ben Hall connection as well.
Yeah, right.
So that's where I originally got it. And said, oh, well.
What does this place mean to you? This pub?
That's what I do. I don't know. It's a hard question, isn't it? You know, it's somewhere I can come and have a yarn to someone. Yeah. As a solo bloke.
How good was it, these blokes taking it on?
I was good because it was dead in the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead in the water. And they've done a great job with it.
What would have happened to the town if they didn't come in and buy it?
Well, I don't know. It'd still be sitting there.
Yeah.
My concern now, the pub's down to a price where it's not far above house value and it makes a really good coffee shop and bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
And I see that of the future. That's how a lot of country pubs end up.
Yeah.
Accommodation, they've done very well out of the accommodation. They've done the rooms up. And, you used to get a country pub room for, $20 a night or something.
Yeah.
Now it's $80, and then they get the road crews in here and it's the asset. And I got to admit, when I had the pub, I had 14 rooms and I had backpackers because of the rural work that was over there, the grapes and all the stuff that's around Canowra.
Yeah.
And when things were tight, they were the only thing that kept me afloat.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't they out selling grog. The tax has gone up. Like grog's here about to go up another 50 cents.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be 6 or 8%. Well, the last one was 22%. They put prices up. So it's a lot of money to drink in a pub now. Yeah. You know, and everyone says, I buy a carton, I can go home, I can drink cheaper. And I can do that too. But
not the same.
I'm sitting there on my own drinking a carton. Well, I'm not against that. But
it's not that good for you.
It's not the same. No.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
But I like ducking every afternoon if I knock off early and I have a beer with Jack.
Yep.
And I worked with Jack for years. Jack, my dad, and another old fellow who passed away.
Shearing sheds?
In the shearing sheds, yeah. They worked together for 20, 30 years. They were the crew, you know.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, 2 of the crew are still going, and they are the 2 elders of Koora now.
Yep.
Jack and Blue. Valma Norton, she lives down the road. She'd be high 80s. I'm not sure she knows where she is. Ronnie, like I said, he's not fully with us anymore. And then there's a few low 80s maybe. Lorna Langfield will be that. She'd be in her 90s. She'd be the oldest lady, and she's fit as a mallee bull.
Yeah.
Mrs. Hutchie. But yeah, there's probably our 80 pluses I was discussing before. Our 80 pluses are probably less than 10 now.
Yep.
You know. And we've seen it in the RSL. I'm in the RSL and I don't get too involved, like old women sometimes. But every now and again we get our numbers down. You know, you got to have 7 for a thing. And then I start turning up. And that's how I got there in the first place.
Right.
I got conned into it.
They needed someone.
Well, our president, they're all World War II blokes.
Yeah.
And Korean blokes. And they were
done.
proper old, you know.
Yeah,
They could hardly write their name, let alone do the minutes for a meeting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got conned into it. 2 meetings later, I was the president, you know, which I didn't mind.
No.
Of all the things.
You still doing it?
No, I'm a member, but I'm not now. Les is the president now, but it's at the stage where we're starting to lose. Well, I think we've got 11 members, and we had 3 of them with cancer last meeting I went to. So, you know, and then we're down to Vietnam vets, a lot of national service fellas, and most of them are sick now. You got to remember that. And the Nasho blokes of the 50s, well,
that's all. Yeah.
They're old men now. You know, they're 70 or 80-year-old men. So, young blokes don't tend to join it. You know, the young servicemen, they actually try to encourage them within the military to join up because, well,
they need the numbers.
Well, once we sent 500,000 blokes to war, now we send 500. You know, the numbers are dying.
Yeah.
But it's and the boys here. Another thing they do here, we have dawn service down here. We then go to the hall. We have a breakfast. There could be, and the numbers are getting bigger. It could be 70, 80 people turn up for breakfast. We have breakfast, bit of rum, then we come back. The boys then go.
This is Anzac Day?
Anzac Day. The boys then do do Wirrama up the road. They then go to Bendick and they have morning tea. They then go to Crowther on the way home and do a service there. They then come back to Koorawatha at 11 o'clock for the day service. So they're on their 5th service by 11 o'clock.
Bloody hell.
And now, because young RSL can't handle it, they go somewhere else of an afternoon.
Shit.
So this little group of old men in a little tiny village
Still doing it.
do, what are we up to? What did I just add up?
6.
6 services on Anzac Day.
Bloody hell.
No big mob do that. It's quite incredible what they do.
Yeah,
so They get my support all the way.
Hardcore.
You know, I'm not a return serviceman, but I'm an ex-serviceman, you know.
Yep.
And,
What's the difference?
well, a return service, someone's been to war.
Right.
Yeah.
So you served but didn't actively fight in the war?
No one shot at me, which is good.
It is good.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Well, I went from here and then I went to Saudi Arabia for a couple of years.
Right.
Worked over there. And no one shot at me there either, but no one spoke to me much either.
No, shit, that would have been a wild time.
Yeah, wild time. Anyway, have I covered enough or we want to talk
I think
more?
so. No, I think we're good.